Well, there are two more big games in the Elite Eight that we have to preview. We have TCU and Texas, but really the storyline here and the game that we're going to talk about is UConn versus USC. This is the game that all basketball fans have had circled and we're hoping for to watch this late in the season. So, Casey, UConn versus USC, what excites you most about this matchup?
Oh my gosh. Well, beforehand, of course, we all would have probably had a different perspective, but what excites me most is probably the fact that Paige Bueckers is going to be, I hate to use the term foaming at the mouth, but I feel like she's going to come in with something to prove, and you're going to want to have such a dominating performance, which we know she's capable of having, because what you don't want the storyline to be is UConn beat USC because there's no Juju Watkins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like there's going to be such a methodical play to her game. So I'm just looking forward to what that next step is. I always talk about what the drop off is from your star player to your next player. I want to see how Sarah Strong comes into this mix up. I want to see what kind of rebounding game that she brings to the table, as well as contributing points, just in case they try to find ways to limit and contain Paige Bueckers a little bit. Not that she's all that containable, but I've talked about the fact that USC might get pinned to more of a defensive role, but they are going to have to lock in on making sure they minimize her, because that drop off between the next person who's going to pick up points, it's strong, and she's going to have to come in, no put on words, very strong.
Very strong. No, I love that you brought that up. And this UConn team, just as much as that storyline is probably going around and people are saying, oh, well, because Juju's not there, it's not going to be the same. Like, UConn has experienced season-ending injuries too.
Right.
Paige was out most of her sophomore year. And so this isn't a program that doesn't know that. They know the heartache of that. They can empathize with USC and like really be a friend in the basketball world to them. At the same time, knowing, oh no, we're coming at you. Like, we don't care what people are thinking or saying about the legitimateness of the win.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be a win. Going to the Final Four regardless is extremely difficult. Well, it doesn't matter who's on the court, right? And so I think Paige is going to play with that fieriness. Strong is going to play with that fieriness, and it's not something that they're going to let that noise creep in, because they've dealt with it themselves.
Yeah, a number of times, and that's why like it's going to be fun to see what Bueckers decides to, how she dials this up per se, because if anything, I think we've discussed it here on Respect Her Game. She's somebody who has had so much adversity in her career, had to bounce back for such big issues. And honestly, I don't think that storyline would have much air to it that long anyway, because of the way that this UConn team carries themselves. But absolutely, I just want to see who the next couple of players are that are going to step into the mix and be like the ultimate supporting cast for Bueckers and what we know that she's going to bring to the court. But on the other flip side of it, yes, I've talked about the fact that USC can't get pinned, but there's some potential there for some surprising spark. I mean, Ryan Marshall, for one, I want to see a little bit more points out of her, but if she has another dominating rebound game, then we know how strong that can tilt everything to make it a more interesting game and to have USC breathing down UConn's neck. Also, Avery Howell, 18 points, 8 rebounds. You're talking about one of the other more complete players to contribute on both assets of not just defensively stout, but offensively stout. So they've got some players that just have to kind of readjust not only the new weight on their shoulders, but the consistency between this new weight they're going to have to carry in the matchup.
Right, and Avery Howell and Kennedy Smith, freshmen.
Right.
Like, these are
So
freshmen
young.
that just dropped 19 points and 18 points in their last game. You know, numbers that they hadn't reached prior to Juju being on the court. And so it's really awesome to see them step up. And that's what it's going to take. If you want to conquer Paige Bueckers and this UConn team, you're going to need your freshmen to step up. It can't just be Kiki leading the team, right? You need those X factor people to really come in. And that's what also makes this team dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Is because a team like UConn probably hasn't been studying them the same. They haven't looked at those girls and those players as that much of a threat. But even with the presence of Juju out, it's been cool to see how this team has really rallied around her. I know pregame they were wearing these awesome shirts before the game with Juju's face on them. It had the Nike swoosh. It was really cool. They had a little figurine of her on the sideline, literally sitting on the court. It was called like a Funko Pop or something. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not heard of that.
Yeah, I'm like, I must just not be that cool. But they had that, and then there were other just cool tributes to her from the fans and from the USC just school as a whole, because you know the impact that this women's basketball team has had just on the campus at USC. So as much as it is such a bummer to not get to see this matchup, it is really cool to see how UCLA has really leaned in to USC has really leaned in to supporting Juju.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. There's a new testament to like how these younger players can step up to the plate and get the job done. And I think that this isn't the first time that they've had that expectation. They have faced a lot of challenges throughout the season where they've been counted out and shown that they're more mature and capable beyond, their first year, second year, depending depending on what their particular situation is. So I think that the game plan can be simple for them. They're strong defensively. Let's just see who else can step up to the, well, I don't want to say plate anymore, who can step up and add to the point tally. Make this a little bit more interesting offensively because they already know what a threat Paige Beckers is going to be in the rest of the UConn Huskies team.
Definitely. And just the experience that they have, not only as the players, but also Gino Auriemma and having his experience and his wisdom. So here's what Gino had to say about just the Final Four in the format of this tournament.
God bless whoever wins Monday night, okay? And they've got to fly cross country, which is all day Tuesday. Then they have 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, to play the biggest game of their life. The guys who don't know about it, according to a lot of women's basketball people, they finish Sunday. Then they have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they play Saturday. But there's a lot of people in the women's basketball committee that think they're smarter than that. So whoever came up with this super regional stuff, and I know who they are, ruined the game. They did. They ruined the game. Half the country has no chance to get to a game in person. But you're making billions off of TV. Well, actually, you're not. That would be the men's tournament. So, yeah, there's a lot of issues that they need to fix. And again, we could get our ass beat tomorrow, and that won't change my feelings. All right. Any other happy thoughts?
This clip literally gave, I will find you and I will kill you, basically, from his experience. But just Casey, getting ready for this game, what team do you think can handle what Gino is so upset about with this Final Four format?
I mean, I think UConn. I think UConn has the veterans. I think UConn has the ability and the experience and the players and the clutch moments, the key, all the keys. I would want to say they have less question marks. Let's just put it that in simple.